What's up, guys, and welcome back. Today's going to be looking at the Galactic Challenge for Tatooine for this weekend. And right off the bat, I'm going to say this one is substantially easier than the one we had last time with the Empire and First Order, which was a bitch and a half in its own right. This one you can do with your generic first phase of Heroic Sith Raid team, which is JTR, BB-8, R2, Finn, and 3PO. You don't have to worry about getting anyone to Gear 13. You'll know when I get there that I do have one character at Gear 13, but he's probably the one that benefits only from the speed from it. Otherwise, he really doesn't get any other measurable benefits. So, before we jump into those, of which I'll put the stats in the description, I won't spend time going over the mods here. I do want to talk about the modifiers, because they do help you in the long run for fighting Geonosians. So, first case is your Dune Sandstorm, which adds damage over times. Now with these, because of the fact that it's not taking a person's turn to do the damage, as far as I could tell, it didn't look like the Geonosians' health equalized before the damage over time effect applied. Meaning, if they had 20 and they had a full bar of health, no protection, then they would die even if someone else had the protection to give them for, a little bit of health. Fearless Fortitude for your team, the Resistance, does help because your Resistance is a lot about spreading around buffs with BB-8's Illuminate Destiny, the smoke screen from R2, Finn giving them the heals over time and dispelling, JTR, all around, everyone's going to be getting some buffs. So these things, these potency, critical chance, crit damage, and the turn meter are going to start stacking and give you a good turn meter train going. The one for the Geonosians, which is that the summon unit, in this case the Brute, has more speed, health, and protection. It might become a problem if you're not quick enough, because unlike other events, it doesn't seem like the tenacity on these Geonosians is that high. I was able to stun at least 5 of the 6 of them when I did this last night when the event came out. But overall, it seems like they almost always will get stunned. Although that could also be just because I was able to stack enough buffs and get enough potency by the end of it. So I don't know which side of the equation I fell on. I feel like it was from the player buff that we have, but who knows. So before I show you the actual team, I will say that this event, they did kind of hoe us a little bit in the fact that in order to get full marks, you have to have the new Mandalorian and Beskar. So if you have him, more power to you. That's one character I am definitely going to whale out for if I can. I say whale, I'm going to be burning through my crystals for anything. But he's definitely a character I would want. I don't have him right now, sadly, so again, I got screwed in usual CG fuckery. But regardless of that one, you should be able to get the complete battle and full resistance for all the phases if you do 7 right now. And then for undersized, I was able to clear it with this General Grievous team. Remember, they're Geonosians, so any single damage target any high single DPS characters won't work. So CLS, Revon especially. I tried Padme. It just the fact that they had that increased speed boost from the summon and everything, it just kind of didn't work in my favor. Maybe if you have a super fast Padme, it might work. But I've always used Grievous against the Geonosians in Grand Arena, and so it worked here for me. It wasn't pretty. I lost Magna and LSB1, but I did end up beating all of them at the end of the day. So, just to let you know, it does work with these 4. Keeping in mind that my relics are a little high for these guys. It's 5 for Grievous, 3 for the B1, and then 1 for the other 2 boys. So, it is still, you do have to invest in them, but like I've said in previous videos, the Scepter droids are tunes that are well worth the investment in gear. Like, no question. I don't think anyone would deny that fact. Let's see. Now let's get up the Resistance team. So like I said, you don't need any Gear 13s, and the one I do have is 3PO. I have this just for military might, but I think most of us can agree that even though he's Gear 13, he doesn't really gain much benefit besides the speed. I don't recall if he has health on his finisher, but at the end of the day, it's really the speed you're after, and for me, it was the health gain that he would get when when I go to Gear 13, because now I got new base stats for my mods to apply to. That's the only reason I got him to Gear 13, but I've seen a number of people already post on YouTube and stuff that a Gear 12 3PO will work fine. It's not an issue. I don't know about any of these other tunes. As you can see, I don't have them geared. This team, which by the way, I will say I never changed their mods from what I have them set for the Sith Raid. This team won it for me in 1 try. I don't know if it'll take 1 try now. I'm going to just cut the video at the end of this and then get a good run in. But I will say for a fact, one run last night at 110 something, or right when the event came out, I was able to finish this, and it was the easiest thing I've ever seen. So I'm going to stop the video here, and I'm going to pick it up again right when I get a proper run through, and then hope you guys will enjoy what I say. Alright, before we start, I do want to point out a couple things. So remember that if you have gotten JTR at this point, her lead first off makes this extremely easy because it synergizes with your player bonus very well. So remember, you already have increased crit chance, crit damage, which is great, it's already perfect. But in addition, when you get a critical hit, you can expose, which when someone gets exposed, you first gain 10% turn meter, and any exposed enemies, when they use a special ability, any resistance members at least, they lose 5% turn meter, and you reduce your cooldowns. So if you think about it, with the player bonus we have, meaning that when we get a buff, meaning we as a resistance gets a buff, then you end up getting 10% turn meter plus stacking potency, and more importantly, crit chance, crit damage. There's a chance to proc her leadership much more and get a really good TM train going. Normally the TM train on them is very dependent on the tenacity of the enemy, but in this case, because of the fact that the player modifier boosts your potency up, boosts your crit chance up, it's essentially making her leadership proc a lot more often. You just got to be able to get the first couple hits in the fight, and so you can get maybe some resists in for your debuffs and stuff like that, so that hopefully you can get enough stacking stats that the TM train is now in your favor. So for me, I like to get one of my assist callers to go first, either JTR or 3PO. If I were you, I would pick 3PO, and I'll explain why in a second. So Brute, remember, has the double assist, his special, and even though there's a good chance, even though he is a summon, the fact is that the summons have that 50% speed, max health, bonus attack, and everyone shares half that. So I want to make sure that he prevents a double attack, because more than likely it'll knock somebody out. So when I use 3PO special, I'm using an R2. I want to control that stun and prevent it from being used. So perfect, I got the stun. Even if you don't get the stun, if he resists, you're going to get turn meter. So someone on your team might get to go if you have him, fast enough. If he doesn't, if he resists, if he crits or stuns, that's the best idea. And then if he crits or stuns and gets the exposed, you get more turn meter on top of that. So there's a lot of factors you have at play. But after I get him stunned, my goal is now to spread exposed as far as I can, because I want to first off keep as many exposes on the enemy as I can, so I can control their turn meter over time. But at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm spreading enough debuffs so that, oh god, sorry about this. I want to make sure I'm spreading a lot of debuffs, or a lot of damaging debuffs, like damage over time and flame, because one way that I found you can win this is to just simply run down the clock to, when the damage over times or flames, what is it called? I forgot. Burning, I think. Is it burning? I want to make sure I got this right. Burning will kill the Geonosians themselves. So that is one way you can go about this. Another thing I would say is, when you have the chance, make sure you keep the Brood Alpha and Poggle either stunned or ability blocked, because they have the cleanses that can get rid of all the debuffs. And if you don't control them that way, what I just mentioned with running down the clock becomes irrelevant, because then they'll be able to clean their debuffs. And you have healer too, you have Finn here, but it still is definitely worth it trying to keep these two guys controlled, because they're the ones that can really mess up the little hitches in your plan. So right now, my goal is to try to keep him stunned, of which you have a couple of abilities, right? You got the assist to call R2, R2's basic, and you got Finn's special here. So there we go, I got that. Now here's a bit of an issue in that I don't have her ability block up yet, so I'm just going to try and get a stun on Poggle here, which is perfect. Once you get these two guys stunned, pointing, I realize. Once you get these two guys stunned and you're off of Brute's taunt, this is the ideal setup. These three guys more than likely won't get an attack in. By this point, if you manage to get to here, your turn meter train should be set up enough that you probably have already won the game. But getting these two guys stunned and keeping them controlled via a stun or ability block is essential. So now it's essentially just trying to keep that turn meter train is going as much as you can. So I'm cycling specials. I'm trying to get as many buffs on my team as I possibly can. I'm trying to get as many exposes on the other team as I possibly can. So in this time, instead of using R2, I'm going to use BBA, because that's a chance for 3 exposes, 30% turn meter, maybe more if they proc or if they resist or anything like that. And then luckily the thing is that by the time, at some point in time, especially if you don't, make sure you get your 3 stacks of translation on BB-8, because then if whenever 3PO starts to use any basic, he'll reduce their cooldowns. So at some point in time, let's see, I can't tell if that's bonus protection. You'll be able to proc BB-8's, that was weird, you'll be able to proc BB-8's Illuminated Destiny, and then at that point it's game over. All those buffs will jack up your DPS, jack up your potency, and then at that point you've essentially beat the Geonosians. But another thing I would say is, remember that you also do, these damage over times, they're global. So they apply to both the Geonosians and yourself. So that's why I prefer bringing Finn over instead of some of the other damagers. Like, I never have used Resistance Hero, Finn, or Poe, so I honestly don't even know their kits. So I don't know if they have Dispel. I know that Finn has, like, I think Rally or Inspire or something of the kind. But OG Finn here, the main reason I like him for this event is for his Dispel. So in this case, I'm not too concerned, right? 3PO has 7 stacks, but that's not anything killer. So I'm just going to focus down in Brood Alpha. But if you get into the chance or in the position where you have, like, I'm just going to keep you a little somewhat here. But if you ever get to the chance of, you know, you have 5, 10 on everybody, then having Finn Dispel is a great thing. He taunts, yes, which might put a little bit, might put you a little bit on edge, but I promise you, you'll be fine at the end of the day. And I mean, at this point, yeah, like I said, it's just literally running down the clock. You can see here, these guys have a lot of damage over times. This guy's actually a lot of debuffs in general. But at this point, I'm really just waiting for them to take a turn. But since I can't just sit here and wait, I just got to run down the clock. And so here, I'm going to, you know, that dispels and gives everyone buffs. I'm just going to dispel again because I can. And yeah, at this point, it's super easy. Just, you know, actually, I wonder if I can just hit auto and let it go by itself. Yeah, there we go. Brood's dead. Or Brood is dead. Now I'm just going to let it go auto. The only thing, like I said, remember here, that may throw a little hitch in your plan, if you are trying to get a perfect run, which, I mean, there's no feat for it, but, you know, just in case you want to, the Spy, because of the amount of buffs you have and damage over times you might have, he can one-shot you with the special. So you might want to be just a little bit careful of that. But otherwise, once you get those 3 stuns in the very beginning, or at least ability blocks on, you know, Brood, Alpha, or Poggle, you're set. There's no reason to worry at that point. It's literally just hammering on Brood Alpha until you can get through all the equalization. And honestly, I think you'll be okay after that. So that's this weekend's Galactic Challenge. I will see about trying to record for next couple weekends. I'm going to be in a different kind of setting. I'll be at home. So my setup is going to be a lot more stripped down. I don't want to take all my equipment. But I do hope you guys enjoy this. I do hope it helps. And I guess I'll see you guys next weekend for the Galactic Challenge. Peace.